see it. And so it was like, oh my God, man, the golden God, he's right there. That was amazing. And so like that kind of probably sells that for me too. But I'll take Robert Plant Live Aid, and you definitely have to give, if you will. I was surprised when I read this a little. I am not shocked to hear that employees feel as if they are dealing with some burnout. I would tell you that I've been feeling that way recently. No fault of anybody. It's not like they're, grinding me out or anything like that. It's just like, kind of occasionally you bump up against it. I also have that senioritis thing on me right now. As we know, we got the holiday weekend right around the corner. And then, I'm taking a little vacation as I got the family coming into town. And so it's like you're just kind of looking past, and that can kind of happen. And I normally do a bad job of not taking all of my vacation days, not taking all of my sick days, not doing all of that. And then what a lot of times I'll do is I'll wait to the end of the year, and I'll try to take all my vacation in December, and then it'll burn out, I gotta go. And then I get the vacation, and I'm like, dude, this is almost too long to be away, right? I do a bad job of splitting it up. I bring this up because yes, we're all feeling more and more burnout, but we're not taking the time off. A new Harris poll tells us that all employees over the age of 18 are struggling to ask for their time off, and if they do, feel very guilty about it when they do. There's no denying that there has been a culture cell in this country forever of like, work hard, nose to the grindstone, somebody can replace you. There's been a little bit of that, and it's probably been oversold in some areas. 83% of people in this poll, this is interesting, actually said they are very happy with their employer's time off policy. Off at my disposal. Me personally, of starting in the radio business, being low man on the totem pole, not necessarily having any of the time to take, always being relied upon, and I saw that get me moved up the chain pretty fast. Like, dude, this Stansbury kid is dedicated, man. This dude is dedicated. He'll do it. This dude is sleeping here. He's doing live overnights, producing 3 morning shows. This kid, dude, do you know what this kid's doing for us? Like, and it got me kind of pushed into the next area. And so, like, I started this show. And so it's hard to shed that, right? And I'm willing to bet a lot of you have a similar situation where you work, right? You're the hard worker, and it's advanced you, and you're like, this is the way it's supposed to go. This is what my parents told me. Work hard, show up early, stay late, do that whole thing, and you advance. And I saw it. I think a lot of people aren't seeing it where they work today, and that's where some of the disdain is coming from. Let me see here. Most of you are getting more than 10 days off a year. However, 78% of us do not use all their days off. Yeah, I probably don't. I know what my vacation time is. Once you start talking personal and sick days and all of those, I don't max out on those. I don't view that as a sick allegiance to the corporation, as some people will say. I do view it as an allegiance to you. I do view it as that. There are days where I think a lot of people, and even people in my industry, will take days off of like, I don't necessarily feel so great. I come in on those days. You go in on those days, so I kind of feel like, dude, I should come in and do that on those days. I was once passing a kidney stone live on the air for you guys, like, because I'm like, nah, man, I don't leave this room. I don't abandon the ship, like, right? I go down with this ship. And that's not a good thing. It really isn't. The average American took 15 days off last year, although about half have had more than 15, meaning more than half of those people had more days than that, and they didn't take them off. Younger workers are even more afraid to ask for time off. Half of employees said that they get nervous asking for time off. Well, I don't have this situation. What we have is an online system. I request the time off via the calendar system that we have. It gets then submitted to my boss, who then looks at it and goes, normally 99% of the time, I am very lucky here. He goes, yeah, whatever he wants, just give it to him. Like, right? Like, that's, you know what I mean? The ratings, revenue, everything's good. Yeah, dude, if he wants off, let him go. He doesn't ever ask for it off. So this is what he wants, let him go. Right? There are times of the calendar year that we technically are not supposed to be out. And again, that was much more strict back in the day. Nowadays, they're like, yeah, man, we get it. Like, if you need to go, you need to go, right? Now, here's what's interesting. Being out of the office doesn't necessarily mean that we're resting either, right? Because 62% of people said being out of the office means not working. Another 60 said they struggle to fully disconnect. And 56 have taken work calls or meetings during their time off. Yeah, I always struggle with this one because it's like, well, is my job so important that, and I am so important to the job that you need to rely on me so much? Because I would kind of like that, because then that would tell me I'm harder to fire. But I don't think that just because they're calling you on your day off that means that. If it did mean that, I think more people would be okay. But your employer should be reaching out to you way less in your time off, even like out of work hours, than they do right now. I have always said this since working here. I have the best quality of life boss I've ever had in my life. And I mean ever. He's the best at it. PM. I'm so sorry, Dan. I am so sorry. I just need this. And it's like, dude, it's 4:30. You are fine, right? You got more going on than I ever do. What do you need, right? He's very good at it, and they try not to do that with us a whole lot. I'm not sure that's everybody's experience, right? Depending on what your job is. 90% of us say that we have read emails from their bosses on vacation. 47% said they feel guilty taking time off. I don't know if guilty is the right term for me, but I am anxious about it. I'm curious about what's happening on the radio station. I have to set all the best of up before I go, which can be a lengthy process. So it's like, dude, I'm out for a week and a half. I have no idea what's airing on the 9th day I'm gone. And then, it's like, this already ran once. And like, oh, this. And it's like, oh, damn it. This isn't time off, right? But it is, essentially. It's, for me, the time off component that's important is the alarm clock. I don't dislike what I do. I've said it many, many times. I'm not sure I even need a vacation from what I do, just when I do it. But that's not true. It's like this job isn't necessarily physically tough, but it is a little mentally, it can be mentally challenging at times. And it's like everybody should be able to take a break, no matter what your job is. Now, there are workarounds that you and I are doing to get this time off without just bluntly asking for it. We'll walk you through what some of those options are for you, and we'll do that next year on the Stansbury Show. Guardians get to 33-17 on the year after taking care of the Mets 6-3. Off today, at the Angels tomorrow. Pretty hot start for the Guards. Not so bad there. Idiot organization goal that never managed before, guy in the whole world's gonna suck. I know it's only 50 games. We'll wait and see what we get. You and I had been talking about taking time off of work, and it's because, well, apparently we're all terrible at it. A new Harris poll tells us that employees are not only struggling to ask for the time off, but they feel guilt. Kind of message it sends. Oh, are they not dedicated? They're not here? Oh my God. But there's a difference between taking the time off that's been allotted to you and constantly calling off. Scheduled time off and somebody who doesn't show, can't be, those are separate things, or at least at the bare minimum should be viewed by your employer as different things. There are bad employers out there who are not going to do that. And so I think that is a little bit of a problem. 76% of people said that they wish their employer placed more emphasis on the value of taking
crash. No, I
remember telling you a few years ago in one of my contract negotiations with Rock 106.9 that I said, well, I'm looking for this. And they said, well, we're looking for this. And you go back and forth and you hammer it out and you have 90 lunches about it. And they kept combating my salary demand with more time out of the studio. And they said, well, we're thinking maybe this. And I was like, I get it. I understand. I was like, but they get mad at me when I'm not there. And they think, oh my God, dude, how hard is this job? He can't go in there and do that. I was like, that doesn't help. More time out of the studio doesn't help me. It hurts me. And in the end, hurts you. So no, dude, compensate. There was a little bit of that. And we ended up meeting in the middle on some more time off and a little bit more money. And then, everybody went, or we went together, right? But yeah, I think more bosses, this isn't an issue here, but I'm willing to bet across most businesses, most people listening to me right now, your boss probably needs to do a better job of emphasizing that and the benefits of it. Rest and being rejuvenated, and I used to tell people all the time here in the building that one of the worst things for everybody in this building, one of the worst things for you all is when I take time off. And I don't mean because ratings dips or without me, they're screwed. That's not what I mean. But what happens is if I'm not here, I end up pulling back from my day in and day out struggles of what I got to get done and this and that, and I start thinking about it and at the macro, not the micro level, and then I start thinking about, no, do we really need to do a better job of this, and we need to be doing this, and I need them to get it better on this, and I come back from vacation and it's just email after email after email. This is what we need to do. Because I have more time to think about it in a different manner versus like, I gotta get Thursday show done, right? Like, and it's like, that's kind of one of those things. You're just kind of always on the clock like that. 47% of people said they feel guilty taking time off. I think it's more just worried about the perception that people will have on you. Younger people especially, they say nearly 40% of millennials are easily the most terrified group of people looking to take time off, but they do have workarounds. Let me see. Let me see. The data underscores a nuanced challenge in today's workforce, the pervasive fear of being out of the office and the difficulty in fully disconnecting. That's Libby Rodney, the Harris Poll's Chief Strategy Officer and resident futurist. As we navigate an increasingly connected world, it's crucial for individuals to set boundaries and for employers to support their employees in achieving a healthy work-life balance. You'll read, all right, so I shouldn't say my boss, although I do report to this guy through other people, right? But there's a guy who's very important to the region in my company. And he will send emails to people at all hours of the night. And it will say, this time was convenient for me. Do not feel pressured to reply to this right now. And it'll say there. And he kind of feels like that's like that disclaimer kind of like lets the email off the hook for the time it came in. I said, you can put that in there all you want. People, you may be that great boss, but people have had a lot of bad bosses. And so your bosses are going to pay for the sins of the bad bosses that came before you, which means your employee, whether you put that in the email or not, most people are still going to feel the pressure to get back to you as fast as possible. What people say when they see that in an email is they roll their eyes and go, yeah, right, but if I don't, right? Isn't that what most of you thought? Right? It's kind of one of those things. And he didn't understand. I was having a conversation with him just casually. As a matter of fact, he felt like I called him out a little bit in that, and we got a little heat, and I was like, dude, relax. I'm just trying to tell you that this is the way that's going to go. I mean, seeing and hearing more and more people are leaving work early and playing hooky that way, coming in a little later versus just taking the time off. If it's been offered to you as vacation or personal days or whatever it is, we should maximize. You should take those days off. For years, I left like a half a week of vacation on the table. Because radio was different when I started than it is now. It was. They would yell at you. They would point to the audition tapes on their desks and go, leave if you want. Look at how many people applied for your job today, Stansbury. This is today's file of people who were trying to get your job. You want to see last month's? And then you'd go, all right, I guess I'm going back to work. It's not that way anymore. This company and our culture and everything is way, and I mean way better than it's ever been in that regard. So much better in that regard, but I'm not sure that's everybody's situation there. Here's what I would say about corporations. I always say it's tough, right? Because like the corporation doesn't care about you. Yeah, probably not, but the person you report to might. On the human level, they might, right? But I'll say this. HR departments do a great job in making sure so do a good job on that department. Your employees being rested and rejuvenated is only going to help you in the long run. Now, what I just said is true of a good employee. Might not necessarily be true of a bad one. But you guys do a good job of yelling to corporate boot camps and coming up with new phrases. You do a great job of that. If you want people happier, just start to get vigilant. They're not taking the time off, and remind them that they have it to take. Encourage them to be doing it. You will alleviate the fear. Some of these people aren't doing it because they think you're Mr. Burns. They think you're in your office going, ha, 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 ha. And why is that? Because, well, some of you are. 330-450-7625 to send a text to the studio. You can also use that microphone talkback button while you listen live on iHeartRadio. And we've been talking about taking time off of the office. As a large amount of people admitted, they feel guilty when they do it. I feel like guilty is just a word people are using. I don't know why I'm hammering this point so hard, but like I feel like what it is more fear than guilt. I think people are worried about how you don't want to be perceived as the person who's not a team player, who's never there when things need to get done, or, man, they're just never around. You want to be seen as that person who's like, no, you can rely on Katie. You can rely on Danny, right? You kind of want to be those people. It's tough, man. I don't want to give you names, but I've seen people in my industry who were like I'm all in, first in, last out, oh, shucks, I'll do it kind of guy. And it got them legitimate positions and opportunities, yes. And then they just kept being that person, and eventually it did get them taken advantage of. But I think that all depends on who you work for, right? And that will be a tough evaluation, right? I've always said that's one of the hardest parts about working for like a publicly traded company. Is that, yeah, man, the further you are down the line, the more you become closer to a number than a person for the corporation, right? But you report to your boss down the hallway who knows you on the human level and cares about you, you know? Now, I have a good boss, and so that makes it easier to have that kind of outlook on that, right? There are plenty of times I'm walking through the hallway thinking to myself, or maybe even saying out loud, oh, this place. You know what I mean? And I don't necessarily mean this particular place. I do necessarily sometimes, welcome to it. I'm a worker like anybody else. It's like, man, damn the man, right? There's a little bit of that. But it can be a little difficult when talking about that. You should take all the time available to you. Here's the thing. As I'm telling you to do that, I'm telling me to do it too. I'm bad at this. I leave time on the table usually every year. I'm good about taking all my vacation time now. But I have personal days that I don't max out. I try not to do this has always been my system. Is I try not to max out. That way when I ask, it's not a question. This comes back to you're not judged in the moment, you're judged by who you were leading up to the moment. Like if I call him tomorrow morning at 4 a.m. and say, look, man, I can't make it. He's going to say, easy, you're good. You don't have to explain this. Go to bed. We'll figure it out. Because I don't do it all of the time. It will be like, all right, he must need the time off. He must need this day. This must be a real thing. Stansbury's not the kind of person, like the last time I got sick, as a matter of fact, I took the day off and then I texted him, I was like, dude, I kind of feel like I need one more. And I don't know what I was worried about it for, because it was like 2 seconds later, it's like, Dan, you're fine. Don't get people sick. Stay home. But like that hasn't always been my reality for everybody I've worked for, right? But I will take all of my vacation time, but I probably don't take all of my personal days that I have available to me. As a matter of fact, embarrassingly, I am going to admit to you right now, I don't know how many personal days I have. No clue. I know I'm never going to use them all. It doesn't matter. And beyond that, if I used more than enough of them, even if I needed one more, I'm going to get it. Having a good track record, being known as somebody they can rely on, and he'll step up, and if you need this and this and that, it will earn you that, or at least it should. And if it's not earning you that, then it may be time to take a look at where you're working and maybe move around a little bit, right? Easier said than done, yes. This came in off the text line, 330-450-7625. I work for a global company, Stansbury. We have over 10,000 employees. Our CEO sends out a quarterly email reminding all of us to take our time off. Our company is great on work-life balance from top down. We have no meeting Fridays here at my company, and we have paid time off to do volunteer work. It's a really great company. Yeah, I think compensating people for volunteer work that they do in the community is not necessarily a terrible idea. I think team building like that isn't a terrible idea. Hey, our partner is so-and-so, and they could use a little help on next week. So we as a group are going to take time off and go and, dedicate some time to them. And I think that could absolutely be beneficial. No meetings Friday. I love that. And I want to say this because I push back on this meeting could have been an email. Yeah, that's how everything became a mess, right? This radio used to meet too often. It was like 4 mandatory meetings every week. It's like probably not that many. But when it went from we can just email everybody, Well, I can just tell you, I had somebody who wasn't great at using that system and was able to blame other people for when things fell down, because it was like, well, I sent the email on this and this didn't get replied to. And it's like, no. If you're in a meeting and you fell down on the job and you have to explain to the entire table of people what happened, what you are is embarrassed. And what that does to good employees is make them go, I don't want to be in that situation again. I'm not dropping the ball. I'm going to be held accountable. Meetings. Now, does that mean meet over every last thing? No, there's probably a middle ground, but this whole you never have to meet with anybody because we have email, I've seen that be absolutely messy. Much like I said, the remote work thing I don't think is long for the world. I'm a little right about that one. And so I feel like there's a similar situation in those two things. My overall point is, employers, if you're hearing this, what you should be thinking to yourself right now is, wait a minute, all I got to do is be a little nicer, maybe even offer up more time off than they had, and it's going to shut up the money conversation. They're going to shut up about the money. Bro, do it right now. Do it right now. And it brings up the 4-day work week thing, right? I've always felt like, and I don't like this word, people know I don't like the word unfair when you start talking adults. Fair and adult life don't hold hands. They're just not friends. It's not the way it works, right? But 5-on-2 has never felt fair. It just doesn't. If you tell me 4 days dedicated to working, so I get 3, I have to put 1 more day in my professional world than I get to myself, that seems like a better bargain. 4-on-3 feels way better. Look how excited people get for a 3-day weekend. Oh my God! And you feel like you have a winning lottery ticket in your hand. Employers, do you realize if you worked into your calendar 3 more of those a year, you could prevent the livable wage conversation? Or at least dial it down a little, and at least dial down the you're evil and you hate us all and you won't even do this? Are you kidding me? 1 more day, dude, let's say 4 more days off a year. You could prevent so much of this online hatred, the TikTok of how awful you are, all of it. You could cut it all off at the pass by letting people take more Fridays and Mondays off. Why in the hell would you not do that and help yourself? I've been talking about people taking time off of work. A lot of us are fearful of doing it, feel guilty when we do it. And I said, well, all right, I get why people are using the guilt word. I keep drilling this point that I kind of feel like, nah, dude, what people are more worried about is how they're perceived, right? A little lazy, never here, can't rely on them, right? And this is true. I've heard this theory plenty of times, that your future and your career is decided 90% of the time with you not in the room. You know what I mean? And we know that plenty of corporations and bosses have let us know over the years that they decide to let you go long before it happens, in a lot of cases, right? And, who you are day in and day out will change people's opinions on you. And again, this is one of the reasons why I've said forever, I don't get this whole I don't care what anybody thinks about me thing. It's like, well, you might want to make a list of people who you do care what they think, because some people matter. What your kids think about you absolutely matters. What your boss thinks about